wish everybody a welcome to the Association Forum Town Hall. This is our second town hall to look at policy in this age of COVID, and especially the relief efforts to get help us combat this pandemic and put the economy back on firm footing. Very happy today, and I'm going to do an introduction in a second, to have Congressman Danny Davis, and again, I'll give you some background, but he'll be here to talk to us about his efforts and Congress's efforts and to answer your questions. Also very happy to have Dan Barsky, who will share his experience as one of the leading trade groups in the Chicago area to kind of tell us what the impact has been on the association and the importance of Congress's efforts to help. And first, in terms of just opening greetings, I do want to welcome the members of the Association Forum that are here. We have 77 participants, which is really excellent. Also want to thank the Illinois Society of Association Executives for being part of this program and helping promote it. And also want to thank the American Society of Association Executives, and in particular, Mary Kate Cunningham, who leads their public policy division, for their efforts in helping promote the program. Our format will be as follows. I'm going to introduce Congressman Davis. He'll speak for about five minutes or so. Congressman Davis will take we look forward to your remarks, so take as much time as you need. Then we'll turn it over to Dan Barsky to share his experience. And then we have about 15 minutes set aside for questions and answers. By way of introduction, Danny Davis is the U.S. representative from Illinois' 7th Congressional District, elected in 1996. And I live in his district and thank him for his great representation. The district serves much of Western Chicago, including the Loop. It also includes several of Chicago's inner western suburbs, such as Bellwood, Oak Park, and River Forest. Prior to becoming congressman, Davis served both on the Cook County Board and the Chicago City Council. A product of the civil rights movement, he served as an executive director of a number of nonprofits and has long understood the fundamental issues we face in running 501c organizations. He served on the very important Ways and Means Committee and has been a strong supporter of the bill that Congress has recently passed, which is the HEROES Act. So with that, let me turn it over to you, Congressman Davis, and for your remarks.
Well, thank you very much, and let me thank all of the members who are present as well as those who could not perhaps participate. It is indeed a pleasure to have the opportunity to share some time with all of you and to talk a little bit about what we've been doing as representatives in the House of Representatives to try and deal in an effective way with the impact of the corona pandemic that we are indeed experiencing. Needless to say, most of us have never experienced anything like this during our lifetime. And so in the House, as well as I think in other places, our first objective was to try and arrest spread of the virus. I know that there are many of us who are concerned about the state of the economy and what it's going to take to get it back moving. And I certainly concur and agree with every bit of that. But I also agree that we need to feel comfortable that we're dealing effectively with the health of our people as well as the health of our nation. So step one, try and arrest the virus, come up with preventive measures that could keep it from spreading, and then have all of the corrective action in place that we need in order to take care of people who are affected. Of course, after that is how do we maintain, hold on to, stimulate, and redevelop our economy to the point where it gets back to what's called normalcy. In order to do that, of course, we've passed a number of measures that have put direct money in the hands of individuals in terms of benefit, unemployment compensation benefits, as well as the direct stimulus monies that people have gotten. But we've also put money into institutions and industries and places to try and assist them. I know that your association, your organization, and some of the entities that you represent were concerned that 501c6s and 5s and entities beyond the 501c3 tax-exempt organizations were not really dealt with. And I think the House has been listening. And of course, the HEROES Act does in fact deal with that, because we take the cap off the size of entities relative to the 500 that no longer exist in the bill that we passed in the House. Of course, the Senate has to catch up to us, and we hope that's going to happen. And we think it's time to start seriously negotiating to make it happen. And that's where our hopes are at the moment. In the meantime, we wanted to demonstrate that we are listening and trying to respond to the inquiries and to the issues raised by citizens all over the country. And that, of course, was one issue raised by your group, and we have addressed it in the HEROES Act. So why don't I just kind of stop with that, and then I'm sure we'll have lots of questions in terms of the time that exists for it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman. And also want to make sure I thank your staff for helping get everything so well organized for today. Let me turn it over to Dan Borsky. And again, Dan is Executive Vice President of the National Association of Concessionaires, and he'll speak from his experience with running a C6 organization and how important the HEROES Act will be to the survival of his group and the industry he represents.
So thank you, Paul, and thank you, Congressman Davis. Both NAC and myself are constituents of yours in the Illinois 7, so thank you for being part of this call today.
Thank
NAC,
you.
Thank you. NAC is a 76-year-old 501c6 trade association representing operators and suppliers of the concession and hospitality channel. Our members include such iconic brands as Coke, Pepsi, Hershey, Mars, AMC Theaters, Levy Restaurants, and large and small venues such as the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, the Fox Theater in Atlanta. But though many of our members are certainly international corporations, many are also family businesses, just like the classic cinemas throughout the Chicagoland area. Our members are contract minimum wage employees, such as those who sell popcorn at movie theaters. They're people who sell hot dogs at the ballpark. They're people who serve you your last beer as you get on a plane at O'Hare. And NAC members are the people who serve you that meal at your awards dinner at your convention in McCormick Place. Most 501c6s don't have a K Street address or a slew of lobbyists or consultants or a PAC to further their political views. No, 501c6s provide certification, accreditation, education, and networking opportunities for their members and the betterment of American society. As an industry, our members are advocates for social distancing and public health standards. After all, our members are the people who serve food to millions of consumers. However, the concession and hospitality industry is in extreme financial distress, and that light at the end of the tunnel seems to be getting further and further away. With baseball talking about a 4th of July opening without fans in the stands, and Illinois pushing movie theaters and concerts to phase 5, which means unless a vaccine is found and universally adopted soon, NAC members can expect being closed for business for the next 12 to 18 months. In many ways, it's a perfect storm. NAC is a $1 million association, a small group that employs 4 staff. 80% of our budget comes from meetings and conventions, with 20% from membership dues. With 51.5% of all workers in the leisure and hospitality industry currently out of work, membership dues will certainly not be coming anytime soon. That data also includes that 22% of all employees of small businesses, which obviously a 501c6 of our size considers itself, are currently out of work. We have already canceled our movie-based convention earlier this spring, and as now coming, we just decided yesterday to cancel our July Expo, which would have been about 60% of our total budget. Needless to say, our major trade show, with it being canceled, provides an opportunity for complete distress for our organization. Like many others with no income, NAC will soon be forced either to close its doors or make massive changes. And a 76-year-old bastion of support for a vital American industry will be gone forever. We concur that the only savior for a lot of us is the extension of PPP for 501c6s. And Congressman, we'll work with you in any way possible to make that happen, because that way associations like ours will continue to survive, and employees who are hired by those associations will continue to have salary. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Congressman, before turning it back to you, just want to comment that Dan's story is one of just many in this organization. Chicago is second to DC, second to Washington in the number of associations that call Chicago home. And they're facing the same decisions that Dan is facing. Chicago is remarkable because we have so many international organizations within the city limits, within our suburbs, representing everything from manufacturing, supply chain, medical, legal, libraries. We could go on down the line, dental, and it's an incredible hub an incredible employer and hub. So maybe start, Congressman Davis, by your reaction to Dan's comments and your sense of the path forward for the HEROES Act.
Well, I was actually cringing all the way through his entire presentation, just recognizing the impact of the situation on all of these groups and organizations and entities. Plus, I also happen to have had the experience of being the president of a trade association myself. Prior to running for elected office, I was president of the National Association of Community Health Centers.
Wow.
And so that's a part of my understanding of the group and what the group does. I take the position that our economy is based upon the comprehensiveness of the society of which we are a part. And if one part is not functioning well and is not faring well, then it throws the entire economy off. Meaning that I believe very strongly that we have to find every avenue of assistance, every avenue of approach. It's kind of like saying any man's death diminishes me. So if we lose one business or one restaurant, or we lose one consulting group, or we lose one vendor, that's a vendor that I hope that we would be able to save and to salvage. So I strongly support assistance. I strongly support avenues that would make sure that the industries we're talking about receive the same kind of support that others are receiving, and the resources should be available. The loans should be available, the grants available, as well as compensation for individuals who are furloughed, laid off. So it's terrible. I'm hoping that things are going to lighten up rather quickly. I know that in some instances we're easing into reopening, but I'm also one of those individuals from my health background that I've worked in now for about 40 years. I don't want to reopen too soon. I want to observe all of the protocols that the health professionals are recommending. We just simply have our work cut out for us, and I think we have to be as comprehensive as we can be in finding solutions.
Great. This is excellent. One of the things we have by the way, for our audience, we do have a chat box and a Q&A box open for questions or comments, and I'll share those with the congressman as they come through. And also want to make you aware that our CEO of the Association Forum is also on the line, but she could answer any questions as well. That's Michelle Mason. But we know, Congressman, that we have the support of Senators Durbin and Duckworth, but moving the HEROES bill forward will be a challenge in the Senate, is our understanding. And so what kinds of things can we do to help facilitate bipartisan opportunities? Do you see bipartisan opportunities here?
I do, because there's no other way that things can happen. I actually heard comments that Senator Durbin made yesterday relative to urging the Senate to at least begin negotiations and start work on trying to, if not be in agreement with everything that we put in the HEROES Act, let's sit down and negotiate and see what we can agree on. As a matter of fact, Senator Durbin and I have a press conference tomorrow, because tomorrow morning he's introducing a companion bill to a bill that I introduced last week, dealing with the need for low-income people to have access to computers and broadband and communication devices. So I think working together cooperatively, and I think Nancy Pelosi, our speaker, has demonstrated great leadership in putting together this package that I think it's just a great relief, if you will, stimulus, a great directional package, and so the carrot is out there, and we're ready to negotiate and try and make sure that we continue to provide resources to keep our business community in business and working.
Great. Well, anything we could do to help support that, support the bipartisan effort here, to support your efforts, and really pleased that you're working with Senator Durbin. We would appreciate if you can reinforce when you have the press conference with Senator Durbin tomorrow, the importance of nonprofits to our community and really to the nation. You know, as we talk about both preserving safety, but also reopening the economy, so to speak, and boosting the economy, I think organizations like ours will be pivotal. And any way we can help, we're there for you. Let me pivot to another question. Chicago's a medical city. I didn't realize that you were president of the National Community Health Centers, so you have a deep background in medicine. But give us a sense of your sense of the healthcare community and how important it is that the medical infrastructure do well in this environment. And the reason I ask is, usually medicine does very well when there's an economic downturn. However, in this particular downturn, for the first time, we've seen doctors, dentists, and others strongly affected by this. A big reduction in elective care, and we're seeing offices close and reductions in surgery. What are your observations on that? And are there ways that we should be thinking about policy?
Well, let me tell you, I've been waiting for 2 months to see my podiatrist. And I look forward to whenever I'm able to get an appointment. But Chicago, quite frankly, is a medical mecca in terms of resources. I actually have more hospitals in the 7th District than any other single district in America. There are 24 hospitals in the 7th Congressional District, 4 medical schools, any number of outstanding research entities. So in terms of the presence of health facilities, we also have more of what is known as federally qualified health centers in the 7th District than you'd probably find any place else in the country except maybe Boston, because Ted Kennedy was known as the grandfather of these. And Boston, of course, is where public health started. I always say that Boston and New York were the originators of public health in this country. So everything has been impacted. I mean, that's why we hoping that a vaccine is on the way. But in the absence of that, we've got to do what the experts tell us. I'm going to be distributing, I have 20,000 face masks right here in my office that we're going to be distributing, free to people, along with the Chicago police are going to help us to do that. And we've been fortunate. People have contributed the mask, and we're going to get them out and try to make sure that every person, every time they go out, they've got on a mask. So we have to do all of that, and we have to work as cooperatively as we can work. I mean, and this isn't just philosophical rhetoric. I'd say to young people even that if we can't stop the virus, if we don't get a handle on it, no matter what else we attempt to do, we'll be hampered. And so finding a way to arrest the virus has to be number one. But then we, as a nation, if we come together and really work cooperatively together, then the results are incredible. They are amazing. And I guess I remain optimistic because I've seen positive. I look at the near west side of the city, which used to be Skid Row, And you know, 20 years ago, you came west out of the loop and you came into Skid Row. Now that area is redeveloping. It's fantastic. It's vibrant. It's growing. Same thing is true with Near North. Same thing is true with the South Loop. And so if we can ride the South and arrest the virus, I think we can reestablish the economy and our economic viability. And America will be and continue to be that America that all of us hope for.
That is really great comment, a great way to finish. Maybe if we have time for just one quick question. I know you have to go at 10:30. One of our participants just wrote in, Congressman, here in Illinois, we're hearing from concerned parents and students about the challenges of going away from home to attend school in the fall. What recommendations can you offer to those individuals about their educational opportunities as it relates to community colleges and online offerings? And we'll make that, unfortunately, in the interest of time, the last question. But Congressman?
I always say to young people something that my parents always said to us, and that is good, better, or best. Never let it rest till your good becomes your better and your better becomes your best. I say to students, just hang in, go with the flow, do the online courses, do the online studying. You know, I discovered that it wasn't the university that I may have gone to or I may have been involved with. I went to 3 different ones, but each one depended more on what I did than what they did. And so I would say to young people, we're going to get a handle. One of the reasons I introduced this bill that Senator Durbin is coming up with a companion for tomorrow is to make more technology available to create opportunity for low-income students to be able to get a computer, to connect to the internet, to have access to broadband. And so just go with the flow, have faith, believe, work hard, and I don't know anything else I can say to them except that while we try and get things back on track, do what you have to do. I mean, I'm old enough, I went to a one-room school when I was a kid. One teacher taught 8 grades plus the little primer and the big primer, all by herself. And so believe, have faith, work hard. That's really the promise of America. To every man his chance, every woman her chance, their golden opportunity to become whatever it is that their hard work, ambition, manhood, womanhood combines to make them. That is the promise of America, and that's the way to make it happen.
Well, those are great words to close with, and the great words to live by. They'll certainly inspire me, and I'm sure the rest of the audience for the rest of the day. And I want to respect your time, but really want to just close by thanking you for your time and dedication to Chicago and to our country for helping to champion this HEROES Act and helping to champion our industry and profession that represents associations, and recognizing that associations too are such a big part of our economy in Chicago, helping support through our meetings and conventions, the hotels, restaurant, and hospitality industry. So thank you for all you do, and we look forward to working with you to see the success of this bill and resurgence of our safety, our health, and our economy. Thank you so much. Have a great day, Congressman.
Thank you all.